Let me bundle this up. And the reason we have these conversations, Chris, whether it's the chambers or the CVBs or whatever it is, because there are lots of people that work at restaurants and work in bars and make beds at hotels that have no clue what's going on, have no clue what's happening. And they are trying to feed their families, trying to raise their business, trying to do their world, send the kids off to school. And these kind of decisions that are made at a macro level, whether it be a council or board of soups or a CVB or a chamber, are affecting them. And if we don't start changing those things, you're going to have a lot more poor people in a community and not be able to turn it around. So it's not about being mean or evil or not telling the right thing or whatever it is. It's about the guy that makes the beds every morning at the restaurant, or the waiter that served you lunch today that is struggling to pay his bills because he doesn't know why. So that's why we do it. That's why we talk about it. That's what's important about it. And hopefully, if you're one of those people that are getting a little tight because we're talking about you, you get the point, because you have a very big responsibility in the position that you're in to do it right. And if you don't do it right, we're going to have a conversation about it. And if you want to come on and defend yourself, there's a chair right between the two of us and a microphone right in front of us.
We just had Chuck Huckleberry on
Sit down
yesterday.
and let's have a dialogue. If we got it wrong, tell us we got it wrong.
You are correct.
But we are pretty close to what we're doing here. We know we have sat on the boards. You have been involved in this tourism discussion for years. You had educated me on it. I've sat in the chamber stuff for years. We get it. And we keep running in this little circle of chasing our tail, and it can no longer happen. We are in a competitive environment, tourism-wise, small business-wise, economic, whatever it is. And there's a lot of poor people out there that need to have someone out there having a voice for them. So,
remember Ben Parker, Peter's uncle?
Yes.
Peter Parker?
Yes.
Okay, and he said, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
And this is what we're talking about
here.
here.
If you're not up for the job, go find another job. Yep. If you're not up for the seat that you're elected for to do the job and make the hard decisions, don't run for office. Because you're going to have people like myself and yourself and others out in the community asking tough questions. Because it's so critical right now that we get this right. Ed, you're with me?
You're becoming a wise young man. I've noticed
My
this.
goodness.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Now, here's the thing.
Very well said.
The only thing I can add to this is you have these elected officials who wrap the working poor and the average working families around them when they run for office or make interesting decisions like the city council. So when I look at Romero, Scott, Ulick, she's the queen of it. Okay. Cunningham, we're still figuring him out. Okay. Ramon Valadez, Elias, Bronson, these kind of folks who say we're for the walk. This is why we do the things we do. That's why we have these big bureaucracies. Well, here's a perfect example to stand up and say here is an element of what we do in this economy that the average working family who's trying to make it works in tourism. Okay, and this is the time to finally step up
exactly, man.
and put up or shut up. Right. If you really are for the average working family of Tucson, believe it or not, messing with the guys with the $900 suits from the CVB is very, very important. Okay, and what happens is when you get to the point when you live to be served and not serve, and this is where I think these two guys are at, that's where you're in trouble. And this cornerstone business we have in this community is going a little bit, just degrading a little bit more. Think about what's his face, Grijalva. Okay, when he called for this boycott, he shot all those working poor people that he says he's the big champion for in the foot. Okay, and that's why we have this conversation. That's why it's so darn important when you talk about your work at Catholic Community Services, and now you're talking about you're serving like around 100,000 people a year now at Catholic Community Services.
Over 6 years, I saw the bottom get bigger and bigger, and I finally said, look, we can't keep fixing the bottom. We got to get up top and fix these structural problems.
And here's a great way. One of our number one employers in town, tourism, needs to be taken seriously and accountable. And if they're doing the job and the best that could be done, great. But you know something? There's no accountability measures in there. There's no comparison to other markets. So they can just fluff you. Here's a folklorico dancer. Here's a picture of Janos and Dr. Weil, okay? And we'll show you a bar graph and a pie graph that looks like a saguaro cactus. All right. Ed Alexander?
Well, yeah.
You look like Anthony Robbins right there with your hand out.
Yeah, well.
Waking the giant within you.
I got that. Okay. No, and I'm thinking as you guys are talking, and it's all making sense. And to me, I look at Mike Fader was sitting in that chair, last week. The man is not going to make $230,000 like the head of MTCVB, okay? He is single-handedly going to get all these guys together. He has gone out, and he's got some business people who said, okay, we're bringing baseball back. We are going to get dirty. We're going to get in there and work it, and we're going to do something for this town. Yeah, because we like baseball. 2, because we want to do something. Yeah, because we need a job and we can make some money, but we're going to bring this together, okay? And and he makes some calls, and all of a sudden he's got an army of people who are going to put this thing together, and it's going to be big, okay? And you got these guys at $230,000 a year in their suits, flying around their planes and going to all the resorts and having lunches, and what have they brought to Tucson? I'm asking you. They didn't bring a golf
We
tournament.
lost waste management.
They didn't bring anything.
We've lost copper. I mean, it just goes on.
What
That's
is
the
new
point.
around here,
That's the
folks?
point. Yeah,
Let's go pay some bills, Eddie. 790-2040 is the number. A young man named Jimmy is going to take us out. We are on the Watchtower, Joe. That's what we're doing here. So, are you the Joker or the thief?
I am the Joker.
7:35 in the morning. Bill and I will get right back to you. If you want to jump in on this very important conversation, 790-2040, wakeuptucson@gmail.com. Wake up now. Really. We're serious.
There's too much confusion. I can't get no relief.
Wake up, Tucson. Call Chris and Joe now at 790-2040.
Plowman, dig my earth.